212 yesterday, or Friday.
Yesterday.
Today is Lunes, Monday, the 18th of November, year of our Lord 2019, and we're getting ready for chapter 4's test, Zacchaeus.
Yes.
Evelyn, how many did you miss, Zacchaeus? 2 days?
I missed 3.
3, you both missed all 3 last week, so try to get caught up. You two will probably take the test Thursday. Does that sound like a good deal?
Sure.
All right, here we go. Here's your answers, 9 through 30, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 9 through 30. Your answers are, on page 212, 2 times 3 cubed. If you wrote the prime factorization, number 9, the answer is 2 times 3 cubed. If you did not write it like that, and that's how it has to be written. Any questions? Number 10, 2 times 5 times 7. So it should look like this. 2 times 5 times 7. Number 10. Number 11, 2 times 3 times 5 squared. Number 12, 2 cubed times 23. No questions yet? Okay. Factor this monomial, Elise. Number 13, it's 19a squared b. 19's prime, so it stays 19. Just take your a squared and make it a times a. Everybody got it? 19 times a times a times b. Number 14, do your prime factorization of 28, 2 squared, or 2 times 2 times 7 times x. How many y's?
3.
Times y times y times y. Number 15, prime factorization of 56 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 7, or 2 cubed times 7. I'd accept that. U times u, v times v. Number 16, prime factorization of 80 is 2 to the 4th times 5. 4 2s and a 5. And listen, the letter part, the variable is so easy. It's 4 p's, p times p times p times p, and the q's, q times q times q. Any questions so far? Okay. Greatest common factor. You got 20, 40, and 90. I am okay with ones like this if mentally you just say, oh, greatest common factor is 10. 10 is the largest number that goes in to all 3 of them. But if you don't know how to do the prime factorization, there's going to be ones that you're not going to be able to do mentally like that. Number 18, for instance. It's not 7. See? You might have thought of a common factor to be 7. Yes, but it's not the greatest common factor. So let's break down 18. 56, 84, 196. Did I already do this on the board? Didn't I do this already?
I don't think you did.
It seems like I did.
I think you did. Yeah, we did.
7 times 8, 2 times 4, 2 times 2. So far for 56, I got 2 cubed times 7. For 84, I got 2 squared times 3 times 7. And for 196, let's start off with real easy. 2. Let's just keep going 2. I got 2 squared times 7 squared. So how do I find the greatest common factor? I have to find all the ones that are in common. I have 2 cubed, 2 squared, 2 squared. What's common to all 3 of those? Not 2 cubed, 2 squared. Let me stop there. Does everybody see that? Yes. In all 3 of these prime factorizations, I have 2 squared. I got more than 2 squared, but I got at least 2 squared. I got 2 squared and I got 2 squared. I don't have a 3 here and I don't have a 3 here. It's out. I have a 7 here. I got a 7 in all of them. But what's the common? How many 7s do they all have in common?
1.
1. So what's the GCF? 2 squared is 4 times 7, 28. I want to do a bonus thing here because I still have kids confusing greatest common factor and least common multiple. I did all my prime factorization. Does anybody want to share if they know how? I'm not saying you should know the answer. Do you know how I would find least common multiple? Greatest common factor is you have to find all the common factors and multiply them together. So we found 2 squared was common in all of them, and only 7 was common in all of them. So I multiplied those two together. To find least common multiple, you don't even worry about whether they're all in common. You use every factor to its highest power. So there's a 2 involved. What's the highest power of 2?
2 threes.
2 cubed.
2.
There's a 7 or there's a 3 involved. What's the highest power of 3?
3.
There's a 7 involved. What's the highest power of 7?
7 squared.
So listen, big difference. This is the GCF. How do you find the LCM? You got to multiply all this together. 8 times 3 times 49. You get a pretty big number like you would expect. Got it? You sure? Big difference between multiple and GCF. Let me say it one more time. To find greatest common factor, you do your prime factors and you only use what's in common to everything. Multiply all those together. Least common multiple, you don't even worry about what's in common. You use all the factors to their highest power. You got to have that down. Any questions? Because that's going to be a big thing. If you go into the test and you confuse factors and multiples, then there's no way you can get them right. Got it? Quiet on Monday. Number, where am I at? 19. The greatest common factor, believe it or not, is 3. 3. 3 is the greatest common factor for number 19. Number 20, the greatest common factor is? Anybody? Number 20, greatest common factor? X. That's it, just X. It can't be 2X because there's no 2 with the other 2 terms. Number 21, greatest common factor. Raise your hand. Yeah? Okay. XY would be the greatest common factor for the variables. What about the numbers? What's the greatest common factor for the 18 and the 81? Let him figure. Noah? You can do this because it's your times tables. What's the greatest number that goes into both 18 and 81?
3.
3 does, but it's not the greatest. What's 9 times 2? Noah, does 9 go into 18?
Yeah.
Does 9 go into 81?
Yeah.
Boom, there you go. And so it's 9XY. Number 22. Short on volunteers today. 22. Sid.
The greatest one is 2S and Z to the square.
Number 22. Now hear this. If you got 22 right, you're in good shape. Is it 2 or 3? 2S T cubed. Number 22. 2S T cubed. Those are 2 big numbers, 54 and 164, and you found out that the greatest common factor between those 2 was just 2. And then when you looked at the S, you're like, oh, I got 1 S there, 4 S's there. The only thing they have in common is 1 S. The T's, they have 3 T's in common. Day before the test, any questions on that? Number 23, the answer is 1/3. Number 24, negative 2/5. 24, negative 2/5. Number 25, negative 16 over 51. Negative 16 over 51. Number 25, you just divide them both by 2 because they're even. Number 26, 8 over 3. 8 over 3. And by the way, you can leave your answer improper there because they just wanted you to put it in simplest form. You divided them both by 13. Number 27. What'd you get for 27, David?
1/3.
1/3 times C. Yes, but in simplest form, hold on. I see some puzzled looks. I hesitated because that's not the answer in simplest form. David says 1/3 times C, which would be C over 3. In simplest form, it's C over 3. When David said 1/3 times C, look how that works. 1 times C is C, 3 times 1 is 3.
Oh, 1/3.
So it's just C over 3. Yep. C over 3 is the answer to number 27. Number 28, negative 3BC over 4. Look, just look at the numbers. 9 over 12 is 3/4. A isn't, there is no, or the A's cancel each other out. And you're left with BC on top. The A's cancel each other, you're left with BC on top. Yes, ma'am.
How do you determine, so let's go back to 27.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me lead your thoughts. Ready? What's 3/9? That's how David got 1/3. Now look at the B's. The B's cancel each other out. So you just, they turn into ones. Do you understand that? B over B is the same as 1 over 1. Anything divided by self equals, so B over B, they cancel each other, they become ones. So all you're left with at the top is a C. So David had 1/3, 3 over 9 is 1/3, times just C at the top. So it becomes C over 3. Number 29. What'd you get, Bella?
4 over 11. 10.
Just N, yeah. 4 over N and 30. Number 30. Confident middle schoolers. Number 30. Not so confident middle schoolers. Rachel.
I got 3D over 4.
Or just 3D. Very good. 3D. 21 over 7 is 3. The B's and the C's cancel each other out. Isaac's left with 3D. Right? And that's all you had to do for today, right? Correct? Okay, so now you're working on 31 through 51. Kind of. Because I'm going to provide you with a cheat sheet for extra help. Listen, I'm not taking the test you are. So I'm going to give you something to allow you, after you're done with this work today, to allow you to do the text test on page 214. I'm going to provide you with the answer sheet to it. So whether you do it or not, it's up to you. I'm not taking the test you are. You're in middle school. I'm going to go the extra 50%, or I'm going to do my extra to give you page 214's answers. If you choose to help yourself get ready for the test by taking that chapter test in there, that's going to help you get ready. And I'm going to give you the answers. Why? Why do I give you the answers to page 214 beforehand? Lauren? Right, because it's a way of saying, okay, I did the problem, now I want to see if I got the right answer. How does that, just like the answers in the back of the book. They're there not to say, ha ha ha, I didn't have to do the problem, I got the answer. Who cares? You don't even get graded on your homework. You just got to do it. So when I give you the answers for the chapter test, it's there to guide you. Oh, I missed that one. How did they get? Oh, I see how they got that. Make sense? Now, everybody should do page 214 tonight. Everybody that wants to get a good grade. So you can't come in Tuesday pouting because you didn't do that well when you didn't avail yourself to all of the information. Your homework is this and that, if you choose to do that. Again, what I'm saying is, and I know this is falling on deaf ears for some of you, because no matter how many times your parents or the authorities tell you, you just don't accept it. If you want to do well, you got to put forth the effort. And if someone's giving you more help and you don't take it, you can't whine and complain that you did your best because you really didn't. So when you get grounded or in trouble for your grade, you really can't say you gave your best. Unless you take advantage. Or, praise it wouldn't happen that you couldn't play a sport because your grade was bad. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Okay, listen, right away. Which one of these are you doing? When you start with number 31, you're doing this, not this. You're finding least common multiples when you start with number 31. You got to use all the factors to their highest power. What? 51. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Number 33. Okay, look for least common multiple. First thing I got to do is break these down to their primes. 5 is prime. So it's 5 times m times m times n times n times n times n. You with me so far? Yeah. 25 broken down to its prime factors is 2 5s, right? So it's 5 times 5, or 5 squared, or this is 5m squared n to the 4th. This is 5 squared times m times n times n times n. So we got to use all factors to their highest power. So what's the highest power of m? I have an m here and an m squared. What's my highest power of m? M squared. I have an n to the fourth and an n to the third. What's the highest power of n? The highest power of n. I have n to the fourth and n to the third. N to the fourth. What's the highest power of 5? 5 or 5 squared? 5 squared. So it's going to be 25, because 5 squared, m squared, n to the fourth. Use all factors to their highest power. Number 33. Yes, ma'am.
So we can write it either way, like either with
Yeah.
or like on a text.
Well,
Until we get
simplest
like
form would be like that. Simplest form would be with the exponents.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. 32. So we got 180 and 240. Got lighting things up on a Monday morning. Evelyn, why do the Irish always put exactly 239 beans in their soup? Because one more would make it 240. Dominic, why do the Irish put exactly 239 beans in their soup? They put exactly 239 beans in their soup, their Irish soup. Because one more would make it 240.
That's like a Noah's.
Nobody gets it.
That's like a Noah's. No, I get it, but
Yeah, that's
it's just, yeah, that's.
Fifth grade, you all thought that was funny.
Yeah, we were little, we thought everything was funny.
You even thought, you thought this was funny. Hello, how are you? I'm Nick.
You're teaching a fun little trick.
What?
We played that.
I'm so.
No, I was singing it.
Elise, don't you think the people that weren't here should see it? He's so cute, isn't he, Capri? Nick?
Who's Nick?
Hello, how are you? I'm Nick.
He's
Here to teach you a fun little trick. Back to looking for least common multiple, right? First thing I got to do is do my prime factors. What do you want to start with? What is it? 18 times 10. So my factors for 180 are 2 squared times 3 squared times 5. You with me?
Yeah.
For 240, it's, we'll start with 24 times 10. Ha. One, two, three, 2 to the 4th times 3 times 5. You agree with that? Okay? Least common multiple. I use all factors to their highest power. I use all factors. I use
all factors to the highest power.
Okay? Think of it like this if you're still getting confused. I use only the common factors to find GCF. Factors are usually smaller, so if I'm only using the common ones, I'm limiting myself. Multiples make numbers bigger, so I'm using all factors to their, I've got a 2 to the 3rd and a 2 to the 4th. What am I using? I've got a 3 squared and a 3. What am I using? I've got a 5 and a 5. What am I using?
Five.
No, I don't have 5 squared. We got a 5 and a 5. What am I using?
Five.
5. There's your answer. 2 to the 4th, 16. 3 squared, 9 times 5. The least common multiple for those numbers is 45 times 16, or, who got it? 720.
720, right.
720. 144 times 5. 720 for number, what number was that? 32. Yes, ma'am.
Did you do 40 of them?
Number 40. One serving of rice pilaf has, did you ever have rice pilaf?
Nope.
What?
Once a week? It's just rice with
Mushroom.
Mushrooms are horrible.
What's in it?
It's called.
What is it?
It's like packaged.
What's in it?
Tell me.
one serving of rice pilaf has 220 calories. 35 of those calories are from fat. One serving of soup has 70 calories. 15 of those are from fat. Write the calories from fat as a fraction of the total calories for each food. So the rice pilaf has a total of 220 calories. And what fraction of those calories are from fat? It says write a fraction, 35. The soup has 70 total calories, and 15 of those are from fat. Which food has a greater fraction of calories from fat? So it comes down to when you have to figure out which fraction is greater. Not easy to do in your head here. So how do we determine which of these is greater? Who remembers? How do you compare two fractions? You can get, Zacchaeus?
Make them the same.
You can give them the same name. How would you go about giving these the same name?
You make the denominators equal.
Yeah. So how would you make the denominators equal? You'd have to do the least common multiple. So you have to do what the least common multiple is between 220 and 70. That's one way.
You could also multiply them.
Another way would be trying to reduce them and get them to a point where you can make a reasonable choice. Since we're learning lowest common multiple, I should just have you stick to finding lowest common multiple. How do you do it? Prime factors, multiply all factors using their highest power. Let me know what you came up with when you did it. Anybody find the least common multiple? What number is this? 40? You're done with 40?
Oh, no, I'm saying like it's number 40.
What are you waiting for? Study hall.
No, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, about study hall.
I'm trying to think.
I don't have study hall today. I
I'm
find.
trying to think. No, it happens to me all the time,
Yeah, that was it.
especially on
We
Monday.
only have
Actually, on Tuesday. Did anybody do 40 yet?
I'm working on it.
Me too. We're gonna wait. Is it that? Like, same goose thing.
You know what I would do if I were you?
I don't even know.
You know what I'd do? Can I give you a hint? Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
you know what I would do if I were you when it came to number 40? I shouldn't tell you this.
Try.
Instead of finding the least common multiple for 220 and 70, you know what I would find the least common multiple for?
I think I have.
22 and 7.
22 and 7.
I think I know what it is.
Oh my.
What is? I think I know what it is.
What'd you get? Shh, listen.
I got. I don't know if this is right, but 1,504.
Sounds right. If I do the prime factorization of 22 and 7, I would get 2 times 11, 22, and 7. What's 22 times 7? 154. Put a 0 on the end, 1,540.
You should have told me that shortcut.
So,
Before I did all that.
so I got to make 35 over 220 equal to something over 1540. I just learned that it's 220. How do I get to 1540? 220 times 7. So what's 7 times 35? 245. I got to turn 1570ths into 1540s. I just learned that that's 70 times 22. What's 15 times 22? 330. So which one's greater? 15 out of 70 is greater than 35 out of 220. Now let's say I wanted to be like Dina and use number sense. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just, because you have to learn how to do the factors and multiples. But if I wanted to be like Dina and use number sense, I could have looked at 15 over 70 and reduced it to 3/14 and reduced this to 7 over 40 something. Or I could have done this. What's 70 times 3? What's 70 times 3? 210. Okay? What's 15 times 3? Watch, let me do that again. Number sense, Isaac. Which one of these is greater without doing all that? What's 70 times 3?
41.
So 210?
210, yeah.
Okay? So if these were equal, and I did this times 3, I'd have to multiply 70 by just a little more than 3. What's 15 times 3?
45.
That right there tells you this one's greater. Let me do that again in slow motion for those of you that weren't paying attention. I got to know how to do my least common multiples. Let's use number sense. Dominic, if I'm comparing these two fractions, how would I get from here to here? I'd have to multiply it by a little more than 3, right? What's 15 times 3? This one's larger. Because in order for this one to be equal, this would have to be at least 45. And it's not. Want to do that again, Micah?
No, what are you going to do?
Listen, you do pretty good with mental math. If I was comparing these two fractions, this is a 70 and that's a 220. If I wanted to make these equal, I'd have to multiply 70 times 3 would give me 210. You with me? So that I'd have to multiply it by a little more than 3. Well, if I was to do that, if I multiply 15 times a little more than 3, that means this would have to be like over 45, and it's not. It tells me that one's larger. If you don't get that, don't worry about it. Prime factors. Trying to give you little shortcuts. Yes?
So let's do number 45.
45. You got 7x to the negative 4, right? So that's going to end up 7 over, remember what you do with those numbers? 7, look at it, rewrite it like this. Ladies and gentlemen, do this so you don't get confused. 7x to the negative 4, rewrite it like this. What number is this, Kiara? What number is it? Right, rewrite it 7 over 1 times x to the negative 4, which is 1 over x to the 4th. X to the negative 4, remember how you make a positive? Just put it in the denominator, under 1. So I rewrote that. I separated the number from it. 7 And that's how that'll make sense. 7 over x to the 4th. Separate the number from it. And then write the x to the negative 4 as 1 over x to the 4th. How do you make a negative exponent positive? David? Woo! Right? So it's 1 over x to the 4th. You separated the 7 from it. How do you multiply fractions? 7 times 1, 1 times x to the 4th. 7 over x to the 4th. Yes?
Can you do 35?
A fountain in an amusement park has a special effect device called shooters. They shoot columns of water at different time intervals. One shooter goes off every 8 seconds, while another goes off every 12 seconds. How long after the fountain is turned off will both shooters go off? Turned on. Will they go off at the same time? One's going off every 8. One's going off every 12. You got to find the least common multiple. That's all you do with that. Because look, it's going to go off 8 seconds, 16 seconds. It's going to go off. This one's going to go off 8 seconds, 16 seconds, 24 seconds. This one's going off 12 seconds, 24 seconds. So the least common multiple is 24. That's when they would both go off at the same time. Yes? 43. 43. 7 to the 9th divided by 7 to the 7th. Brett, when you're dividing with that same like bases, they're both 7s, just subtract the exponents. 9 minus 7. Answer 7 squared. Are the bases the same, Brett?
Yeah.
Then just subtract 9 minus 7. 7 squared. Yes, sir.
Can you do number 47?
47. Let's just look at the numbers first. Ready? What is 8 over 24 reduced?
1/3.
Okay? So far I got 1 over 3. I'm going to have to erase for this.
Oh, no.
That's fast. 8 W negative 6. Yeah.
Did you turn the computer on?
Yes. Thank you. 24. Okay. You've already determined that the 8 and the 24 become a 1 and a 3, right? Right? So now you got a negative 6 divided by, are the bases the same, W's?
Yes.
Okay, so it's negative 6 minus 2. What's negative 6 minus 2? Negative 8. So that makes it 1 over W to the 8th, which is how they get 1 over 3 W to the 8th. Let me do that again, Isaac. Negative 6 divided by, you got a 2, so it's negative 6 minus 2, which gives you negative 8 as your exponent. How do you write the exponent positive? It was negative 8, whoop, now it's positive 8 in the bottom. 1 over W to the positive 8. What number is that, Noah?
That's number 47.
By the way, I did find out finally after 3 months of school, because I always thought, I gotta go look at that. You are able to access the class.
Who we are?
Yeah,
So for
HCS homeschool.
So can I just
HCS homeschool. What's that?
under the classroom?
On YouTube, HCS homeschool.
Okay.
And you, like, man, I forget. Because what it would do, listen, here's what it would do for you. Just like with Julia, Johnny, and Sawyer, they could stop the video at any time. And also then, all the stuff that's on the board, you could stop it and look at it again.
Are we gonna get our sheet that you said you were gonna give us?
Yes.
later.
What about this?
Sorry.
Oh.
Yes, hey! That chapter test on 214. You're going to be given a half sheet that's got all the answers on it.
What?
Use it. You have study hall right now?
No.
When's your activity period?
We have buddies.
We have Mr. Corner. Yeah. We also have buddies.
Next?
No. It's right after one.
Whenever you go to Sworn, Kiara, whenever you go to Sworn, stop here.
It's at like 12:38 or something.
Whenever you go to Sworn.
So you're gonna give us the answers to the test today?
Whenever you go to Sworn.
Very well. Very good. So you're gonna give us the answers to the test.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Not my answer.
Do you know my kid's absent? Face to face.
4.
Bye.
Hi, Jaden.
Do you remember which one?
They're all in,
Toys.
toys.
Wow.
So it was,